Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Bobby Cleveland, Executive Director, Oklahoma Correctional Professionals, along with Representative J.J. Humphrey. And again, we've got a full schedule, J.J. I tell you, I don't know how we get everything in. It just seems like it just never stops.
Bob, it never does. It never does. I'm up here in Missouri tonight. Uh, my kid is graduating from boot camp there in Leonard Wood, Missouri, and so I'm on the road tonight. So shooting kind of. That's why it looks dark. Looks like I'm in a vehicle. I'm in a vehicle up here in Missouri, and so Bob, I've been getting calls. Even up here, I'm getting texts. I'm getting calls. It just never stops. It's just something all the time, Bob.
One of the things that really I kind of got offended by what DOC did when they talked about this retired, what was he, when was
Probation officer. Probation
yeah,
officer.
probation officer, and I don't know. He died from this and never did give that, but how they talked about it. But you know what? When other people retired from DOC and have passed away, they didn't do anything on them. Exactly like they was trying to show people how they have a heart, but they don't have a heart.
Well, Bob, I mean, the guy did something heroic, wasn't it? And then now they're bragging, trying to take credit on it. And Bob, here's what gets me. About I don't know 4 or 5 days ago, I got calls from two separate people. One said that an officer had been beaten, and the other one said no, he'd been stabbed. I never have confirmed. Did he get beaten? Did he get stabbed? But here's what's funny, Bob. If a highway patrol had been beaten or stabbed or something, it'd be all out in the news. But you take one of our people, and so they can brag about retired people. They don't say anything about anybody who dies or whatever. But even their own employees, they do not acknowledge that our employees are out there getting harmed, being beaten, being stabbed, being in harm's way, and they don't want to admit that because then they got to admit how bad the situation is. So instead of acknowledging these people and giving credit for what they're doing, they're covering it all up. Bob, boy, that dog. Uh, he got it. But anyways, Bob, that's what gets me is that rather than acknowledge our officers, rather acknowledge the danger that they're in, guess what? They're going to cover up. They're going to lie. They're going to pretend that the situation is not as bad as what it really is. And so, in order to do that, they're willing to throw their employees under the bus. It just, Bob, it infuriates me as to what we see. And the more and more every week that we're seeing more and more officers assaulted, and guess what? More and more officers assaulted like this guy. It sounded extremely serious.
DOC is very good at writing articles and writing, making new statements of how they treat people and how they want to have better inmates to have this, to have everything. But theirs is just words. They don't mean it. They don't do anything about it. We don't have any more programs for our inmates to help them when they do get out of prison. They're going to get out of prison eventually, and we're not offering enough programs for them to
Well,
do. In fact,
that's
all
what
we're
they're
doing,
saying.
we're killing them.
A safer, more rehabilitative, you know, environment is what they're saying, Bob. And that's the farthest thing from the truth. Bob, if you'll remember last week, we talked about, and Bob, I know you got this confirmed. I got it confirmed on the hostage situation that and again, we never could get it confirmed on was it a psychologist, what exactly position did the person have, but that's the problem, Bob. These horrific acts that should be in the news. I mean, a hostage situation any other time would, that
A
would be
hostage situation
newsworthy.
where took a person, an employee, not an inmate, an employee, taking hostage of these four nurses.
It's criminal, Bob. It's a criminal act. It ought to be on the news. You don't hear nothing. We talked about them finding guns on the premises, nothing. And then, Bob, you can't even find out nothing. I'm not finding out any of the details on that. You know, while I was talking to people on that, I confirmed, Bob, if you remember, we had been told back several months ago that
Yeah.
two officers had been attacked and that they'd been held hostage, and that the inmates refused to let the officers have those officers back. In talking to people about the hostage situation there, they confirmed, or they backed up the story. Yeah, there was two officers that were held hostage here, and they did nothing, and you don't hear anything. You'll remember we had an officer stabbed. Bob, to this day, I can't tell you. I think I finally did hear that officer's name, but I can't, we can't completely confirm. Now, I believe he was stabbed in the femoral artery, but again, you can't confirm it. So, Bob, this is the whole deal. We have people being attacked, we have people being assaulted, and we can't even get the information. Now, here's what's funny. The AG come out the other day saying he's going to start a whole new division in his office to help get these open records, and require these agencies to do open records. Now, I kind of thought that was funny, Bob, because when he did that,
When?
I filed a lawsuit. If you remember, we talked about me filing a lawsuit on
Yeah.
here for
Yeah.
open records. And ain't it kind of funny that right after that he comes out? So here about 2 months, 3 months after I filed this lawsuit, we're gonna come out and say, oh, we're gonna start taking care of them open records. And so again, he's saying that, but we can't get. Harp is covering every bit of this stuff up that we're talking about. And I'm giving it to news people. I'm giving this, giving that, and they're just not as interested because it's just, Bob, people are kind of like, well, daggum, y'all been telling us that for quite some time. And we have been telling it, and it is true, but the news media is kind of, just desensitized on it, Bob, is what I would say.
Yeah. Hey. By the way, this is all together off the record here, but understand that Richard had a double hip replacement.
He said, so for people who want to know, that's the lawyer that's working on that case that we're talking about, and he said that he was going to have some kind of medical procedure, and that may be reason why he's down and you can't hardly get a hold of him.
Right. And the Russian's been out of the country.
He's always, boy, he travels a lot, man. That sucker's gone all the time. So
Well, he's a
again,
good attorney.
well, that's why, Bob, I'm not getting any kind of big fizz on my case. We'll see where they come back and whether they want to pursue that. If they don't, I'll go get another lawyer. I've got a great case. I don't think even their lawyer said that I had a good case and said what they were doing violates the Open Records Act. So I don't see how you can lose when their own lawyer, I got it in writing that their own lawyer said that.
Hey,
So,
hey, come on.
it's just
Come on
a,
up.
it's a sad day that you had to fight that hard to get records, and then you've got all this going on, and they're not going to.
Don't.
They're still withholding all of this stuff. Bob, I got in a deal with DHS, same kind of argument today. I said,
Yeah.
hey, look, I'm in your executive staff. As a legislator, I can walk into your executive staff. What is there that you
Oh,
should be able to withhold from? You know what I'm saying, Bob? We should be able to see whatever they got, and they're like, oh no, we can't give you that. We can't give you that all the time. And so
what'd you do?
I forgot my keys, I think, to this car, and my car died. So that'd be interesting.
Well, trying to think what else is there was, but it's just
Oh, Bob, we got all kinds of stuff. I mean, we've got basically two people that have you know, 2 or 3 that died this week. We got one in Harp. We got one in Lexington. You know, you got inmates that are being stabbed constantly. I've gotten several reports of major stabbings that I don't know if the person's going to live or whether that person is going to die. But Bob, I mean, I just can't believe how much we see on continued assaults and how the department just continues to cover all of those things up. You know,
Well, where was the worst ones at? Where's that at?
well, one of the ones was at Harp.
No, the
Yeah.
where is the worst, the more killings at?
Oh, well, that's easy. That's Allen Gamble right now.
Allen
Now,
Gamble is the most of, and guess what? They promote the guy.
yeah, well, Bob, and promote him over everybody else, just right up above everybody else. It's unbelievable.
And I mean, I like the guy, but that's just makes no sense to me whatsoever with all the killings that he's had there at that prison that he's
Right.
under over, and he gets promoted.
Yeah, it's insane. That's definitely insane. You know, I'm just trying to figure out. I'm sitting here in my vehicle. My wife had the keys. So if y'all are wondering what I'm doing, looking around, I'm like, how in the world did I start this vehicle without any keys?
How'd you start it?
Well, I've just now found the keys. So
You had the clue.
yeah, I had them. I had them the whole time. So yeah, I don't know why it wouldn't start. So if y'all were wondering what I was doing, I'm at a hotel and I had to come down in the car because I got a bunch of people up there in the hotel room and they was making lots of noise. So I had to come down here and and visit with Bob, get on this podcast. But Bob, yeah, Allen Gamble is insane. It is insane what's going on. Now, you know, we got a report not very long ago, right off the bat at the New Lawton Red Rock that they had as many as 30 people involved in a outbreak there, and they had to have multiple ambulances, and that's what we were told. And again, but every day something is happening at Allen Gamble, and it is unreal. And again, like we talked about, just this hostage situation and the multiple things that you know, whether it be hostage situation, whether it be officers assaulted, whether it be inmates being stabbed. One of the inmates being stabbed, an older guy that was in debt. Now, Bob, that brings me to another thing. Have you been hearing? I was told that the warden at Great Plains said that if you get in debt, we're not moving you. So, like where they get in debt and they're getting threats on their life for being in debt, you know, that normally they would have moved them out. Now they're telling them if you get in debt, you're just going to have to pay it or deal with consequences, which means we're going to leave you there and you can get killed. We'll leave you there and let you die. Now, now, what kind of policy is that?
Well, that's the policy of where. Look at all the people that's been murdered at several of the prisons, and you don't see anything happen to the wardens or the deputy wardens or the chiefs or anything else.
Well, Bob, I'm going to tell you, and I think that if I was an employee, and this is what I'm trying to tell all the employees as I talk to them, as they call me, write me, I'm trying to tell all these employees that you better start documenting. Things are getting crazy in there. You need to document because here's the deal: if you knew a guy was in danger, this guy comes to you and says, "Hey, I'm in debt and they're threatening to kill me." I mean, they are threatening to kill me, and then the guy ends up dead. Guess what? And you could have done something and you've ignored that totally. Do you have responsibility? I mean, is that neglect? Is that gross
Well, JJ,
negligence?
they're covering up Prius. It seems as though they are, from what I've been told,
Well, Bob, I've got 2 or 3 people
and that's a
that
federal
handle
offense.
them. Well, I've got 2 or 3 people that handle the actual handle Parias telling me that absolutely they are not only ignoring them, but they're going back in there talking to these inmates and changing their story. Which again, it doesn't matter if the inmate changes their story. If they come in and report it, you have to work it as a PRIA. And yet they're just going, nope, nope, don't work it, and covering it up. And again, it's all about numbers. They don't want to have the numbers showing the true facts, what's actually going on in these prisons. HARP is a disaster. HARP is the biggest
But he can
disaster
come
I've
up with
ever
these
seen.
really nice words of how he's going to treat people and how it's going to be better. Uh, that's just words. There's no action to those. It's just words.
Bob, if he had to spend one night in one of the cells that he has, hey, go pick the best one. I didn't remember this one, but now I recalled it. Union City was one of the places that somebody died. I mean, you're talking about the lowest level you've got,
Yeah,
Union City.
that surprises me when I heard about Union City because uh, that's been a very well run facility for years.
Don't have any problem. Low level. You shouldn't have any problems there. Again, Bob, if you want to talk about a facility, how many things have we heard on HARP? I mean, how many times have you heard HARP here in the last year? Rarely, I will tell you, Bob, rarely when we do a Friday podcast do we not have HARP. I bet you at least every other week we have something coming from HARP. And Bob, when we first started this, you never got anything from HARP. HARP was not, you know what I'm saying, even up until the time, just until the time that HARP, took over, Director HARP took over. Have you seen the collapse of the prison HARP? And again, used to, I mean, that was kind of like your retirement home for inmates. That was kind of like the place everybody wanted to go that is just like laid back and nothing happens. And now guess what? You've got somebody dying just just every time you turn around from HARP. We had one over at Lexington. And again, Lexington's kind of, I mean, they have their stuff. They're not the worst one. And Bob, I will tell you, if you talk to people from OSP, they act like something's going on every day at OSP and you're not hearing it. And I'm not getting it, you know what I'm saying? I'm not getting that out there like it really should be. You know what I'm saying? They're just
Yeah,
like, well, that's another assault, another this, another that. But Bob, we talk about inmates assaulting officers, and don't forget, just recently we had an inmate that was going to stab an officer and would have stabbed an officer except for another inmate stopped and gotten away, and that inmate got stabbed. And so, again, you're talking about an officer this week severely beaten or stabbed. You're talking about 3 or 4 weeks ago, an officer who would have been stabbed. And guess what? And we're talking about a couple of, not very long ago, two officers taken hostage, wasn't even reported. We're talking about employees taking hostages, never reported. And again, that person back to work. It is insanity, the stuff that we're talking about that is not even being brought up, that you can't even find out what's going on. And here's what's funny, Bob. When you call the media and the media tries to find out what's going on, guess what happens to the media?
I can't find out either.
They're shut down. Hey, they're keeping the media. I mean, of all, you talk about the arrogance of this administration and just the intentional violation. The law don't apply to him. You know what? He's up here. I'm parading around in a big, colonel's uniform. General. I'm sorry. I demoted him. I demoted him, Bob. He's a general, ain't he? He's a general, the 5 star. Him and the Chicken Man are the generals. But here's the deal. Uh, he's parading around in this uniform, and he's supposed to be one of the top law enforcement people keeping the law, and look at all the laws he violates. And look at how he turns a blind eye to rape. He turns a blind eye to extortion. He covers up murder. He's complicit in covering up murder, covering up rape, covering up extortion, covering up human rights violations. We've got it all. We got all. That ain't me. You notice I don't put a legend on there anymore. I just say, hey, here it is. This is what it is, because I got all the documents to show that's what it is, Bob. And then like I say, for this, what's going on with the staff, what's going on with the inmates being killed, being stabbed, it's insane. I just, if you'd have told me 3 years ago when this guy took over that he could do this, you know, that he could run this department that far in the ground, I'd have said no way.
Well, you have to look at it this way. He took a job. He hadn't done a great job at OMS. He had some pretty big problems there, but he took
Huge.
a job working somewhere where he's never had any experience at all. Zero in law enforcement or in a prison.
Bob, I think I could do better at brain surgery. If they called me in today to be a brain surgeon, I'd have enough sense to say, hey, one of you guys with more experience, just y'all come in here and do this, and I'll watch. You know what I'm saying? See what I can learn, and I'll take care of the finances or something. And Bob, listen, he's supposed to be the financial man. We're in a disaster on finances. They're broke, Bob. They can't get nothing. You talk to the people who are in charge of getting stuff. If you talk about maintenance, you go talk to maintenance. They're telling you they don't have the money, the funds to do whatever.
Well, they ran
You
out of
know,
toilet paper of all things.
run out of toilet paper, Bob. They're broke, and here you are in August. You ought to be sitting. I mean, if you're talking about, you know, oh, if you're in March or April
Yeah,
and
yeah,
May.
you went away on your. You hear you, but you
Well,
can't see
Bob,
it.
that's because, Bob, somebody's trying to call me. In fact, one of these people from the prison, somebody, it's their mom or their dad from prison, are trying to call me. And if I click off of it, I'll click out of the whole thing. So if somebody calls me, we'll just have to be off air for just 1 second. But that's an inmate's uh, family member telling me there's an emergency. And again, I hate it, but I've reached a place where, man, you call them and you might as well just be, you know what I'm saying? You might as well just be going out there and talking to a tree or talking to a brick wall. They don't do DOC. I mean, they're totally, they're just, their administration is absolutely worthless. Worthless. I mean, I've dealt with them 35 years. I've dealt with them 10 years as a legislator. And I can tell you right now, is the poorest I've ever seen in my entire life of dealing with them. It is that bad, Bob.
Well, I'm
It is
surprised there hasn't been any more outrage from the inmates because I'm told the food's not very good.
Bob.
And
I every time I turn around, it's hey, you're fixing the lids blowing off, lids blowing off. It never does. I say that, when you have 30 problem, they like to call it, just like you said, they come up with pretty words. They change the words, and they are great at doing that. Group disturbance. Oh, we didn't have a riot. We had a group disturbance. Oh, it wasn't a hostage situation. It was a little disturbance. We got that taken care of. Oh, no, no. That lady, she had mental health problems. We got her medication straightened out. How many people in prison are there because they have mental health problems? How many people are going to court over mental health? How many people do you know held hostages and they go, oh, we won't even file charges on you because you think that happens in court, Bob? Do you think any other uh, law enforcement agency? So here we are, the state law enforcement agency. You think any other agency gets called to a hostage situation and goes, well, nah, we're not going to do anything on that one. Found a few guns. She held people hostage, but we're just going to chill out and, we'll see if we can get her medication right. We'll let her try again next week. You know what I mean? So Bob. I mean, I've worked in law enforcement for like you say, 35 years, been on all kinds. That does not happen. It is insane. It's just insanity. I can't even believe that we're having to have a discussion that happens. And again, Bob, the number of murders going on at Allen Gamble, the number of murders, I keep saying this and people keep, oh, JJ, no, I've got some numbers. I've got the stuff. And
But
it's
with
just unbelievable.
all the deaths they had with inmates, and they want to go talk about what is it,
AI.
AI, talk about AI, and all the good things that they're going to do with that, where they're going to be able to count, uh,
Well,
make
well,
things
Bob,
different, and with ignoring the deaths that they have at their facilities.
here's what's funny. I'm using AI in some of my campaign for lieutenant governor, and so it is some cool stuff. It is some cool stuff. But Bob, if you think that AI functions without problems, man, it glitches all the time. It's new stuff. And when you start talking about applying it to where it's going to do facial recognition, that it's actually going to look there in that cell, see two people, see movement, and be able to absolutely confirm. And again, what so let's say that it confirms that there are two people in cell. Can it confirm that one of them's raping the other? Can it confirm that the other one's beating the hell out of the other one? Can it confirm that that one's dead? You know what I'm saying? What's it going to do when you do confirm that somebody's being raped, somebody's being assaulted, somebody's being uh, killed? You know, you're going to have to send real bodies down there. AI ain't going to go fix that problem. You know what I'm saying? AI is not going to go to court with you and testify to what happened on all of that stuff. And again, AI is great. I think we should be looking into AI. You know what I'm saying? I know you're just like I am. You're not opposed to technology, but it's not going to replace this, at least at this time. It's not going to replace boots on the ground, real people. And even if it does eventually do that, we're talking, how many years down the road? You're talking quite a ways down the road.
How many guys are going to die between then?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, Bob, something else I want to mention. I was talking about running for lieutenant governor. And so I'd put out something. I don't even remember what I'd put out, but I had a person kind of troll me. I've got a few trolls that like to get on there and badmouth me. And one of them got on there and just was like, well, y'all, you ain't done anything for the corrections people, and you ain't done anything. You say that you want to help corrections, but you ain't done anything at all. And you had never helped anybody in corrections.
No.
And so I just wanted to stop for 1 second and just talk about real quickly that I think people have forgotten, Bob, that about, I don't know, how long have you been the director of OCP?
4 years.
So 4 years ago, and I'm going to shove all this into 4 years,
4 years, I
okay?
was going to do it 1 year.
Do what?
It's 4 years. I was only going to do it for 1 year.
Right. But you remember the first year, I mean, you just took that over and you came to me. You actually went to John Eccles, and John Eccles told you, come to me, I think. And we were going to do that $2 an hour raise. And we got the $2 hour raise. Now, what happened is Wallace and Thompson stole it from us and they screwed it up, if you remember. But we did get the $2 raise. We were the ones who done that. Everybody knew we did it. In fact, when Governor Stitt was signing that into law, Wallace and Rogers was in there, and they'd asked me to come up there. I'd gotten a call from governor's office asking me to come up there, and I was sitting on one side, they're sitting on the other, and he's signing that, and he goes, they always give the pen to some, one of the
He's
authors, and
the
he
guy who
goes,
wrote the bill. Yeah.
oh yeah, he turned around, he goes, everybody knows who deserves this pen. JJ, come get this pen. And I laughed. It was hilarious because everybody knew who come up with that bill. And so that was me and you who did that. We turned around the next year to fix the 400 who were left out of that. And we got that fixed, and they stole it from us again. But again, who cares whether my name's on it, your name's on it, whether what
Got
I'm
it
saying
done.
is it got done, and who got it done was me and you got it done, and that's a fact. That's not me blowing our horn. That's a fact, 100%. Everybody at that Capitol knows that. Now, Bob, then we turned right around and we filed, if you'll remember, for probation pro, because they were left out of that. So we filed for probation pro. And if you'll remember, they come back and said, if y'all would not push this bill, and again, it was going to die. And if you'll remember, we called the probation pro and said, hey, y'all get us 20, 30 people, come up here. And then I got all these senators and representatives to come in and talk to them. And they walked out of there going, hey, something's going to have to be done on this. And so DLC come to us and said, if you'll just back off, we'll get this taken care of. Bob, if you remember, we filed on the uniforms. They did the same thing. If you'll just back off, we'll take care of this. And they did do that at first. Now they've dropped the
They
ball
kept their
again.
word.
Yeah, they did it, and they kept their word on both of those. Then, if you remember, so let's get this: $2, the 400 left off, probation pro uniforms. Then we found the $43 million that got the biggest raise in state history, and got Department of Corrections employees the biggest raise ever. And we found that right in their budget without getting new appropriations, without getting any kind of new tax. We found that in their budget, and we got that $43 million raise for those employees. Now, I've got a person saying that we've never did anything for the employees, and I just want to remind employees that not only are we fighting all the time for the people who lose their jobs and get fired wrongfully, and we're going to court and we're fighting all that. But Bob, we've got more raises. That's 4 years. I'll bet you we've got more raises in 4 years than they got in 20 years, all the prior before us. What do you want to bet?
Yeah.
It's insane. And
No.
I just want you to remember, people that we're talking to. So this audience we're talking to, I want you to remember that is why you need to join. It's not only do we go and try to change legislation, we're fighting all the time on merit protection. We're fighting against that, but we've done a lot of things, and it's just I can't even mention. I just mentioned the big things, the money things, but we've done a whole lot to try to change policy, try to change the law to make yours a better working environment. And again, Bob, the main thing that we've done is I think without us, I think we've been calling them out. We're responsible for the news that works. The stories that get told, a lot of people don't know. That's me and you in the background telling them, hey, here's this. Go look at this. Go look at that. Here's the evidence of this. It's all the time, Bob.
Never stops. We keep saying it's going to, it's going to get better, but it's not getting any better. It's
Oh, it's
getting
getting
worse.
worse. Bob, you want me to tell you something that I saw the other day that just blew my mind? Somebody sent me a video. In fact, I had two people send me a video of
Mm.
Mac Alford's water. And then I had somebody send me, because I'd commented on Mac Alford's, and then somebody jumped on that line and said, hey, Howard McLeod's water was just like it. And then somebody jumped on and said, well, Dick Connors has the worst water. And again, Dick Connors, Bob, every 2 months or so, they shut down their water there. The city does. You would think DOC would have gone in, especially when we had all this ARPA money. They'd have fixed that. But Bob, that water I've drunk out of creeks, that had much cleaner water. I mean, it was just, it looked like some of the old ponds you drink. You know what I'm saying? Just mud water. I mean, it was just mud coming out of the faucet, and that's what them guys are having to drink, and that's what them guys are having to take showers in, wash in. It's just, you know what I'm saying? Unbelievable.
Well, JJ, it's bad, but I will apologize for my dog. She's acting up, and I'm Bob. I'm a single guy here, and I don't have no wife to go to give the dog to keep her entertained. So we have this show.
Bob, that dog. I give you a hard time with that dog. Hey, everybody, that dog. We just got that dog for Bob, and that's awesome, awesome dog. So, you know what? We're just all family here, and that's why Bob. People wonder why you do all this. I just want to let people know you get 1,000 calls a week. I get 1,000 calls a week. Man, I'm going all over the state campaigning for lieutenant governor, and you're driving all over the state trying to take these calls, trying to remember who called what, trying to
Hey,
get that
hey,
done.
here I went to a meeting tonight, and Charles McCall was the
Yeah,
speaker.
right.
And by the way, I think Charles is a great person. I mean, I love him to death. And he was answering questions, so people wrote down their questions. Well, someone wrote down corrections on there. Corrections is a mess, and talked about it. Well, he talked all about it. Explained, talk about we got to change the corrections law. We got problems, blah blah blah. And he goes, "Yeah, I'm Bobby Cleveland. I know you're the one that wrote that in there. I didn't. I didn't write that. I'm really curious if you did, but it's something I would say. But I didn't do that. And he's gonna get surprised afterwards. We find out I didn't do it.
Right, right. Well, I don't think, I just don't think that he appreciates what's actually going on. I mean, you know what I'm saying? They hear, oh, it's bad. They've always heard, oh, it's bad. They do not realize, and they have the governor coming over and saying, oh, JJ and Bob are exaggerating. Oh, Harp's trying to do this and Harp's trying to do this, blah, blah, blah,
No.
And again, they're listening to those people instead of listening to the evidence that gets put in front of them. So I hope he does. If he gets in there for governor, I don't see him picking me as anything to do with Department of Corrections. But you know what? He needs to find him somebody who, and there's people out there who understand corrections, but who have it's going to take somebody with some great, great backbone to come in and clean up, and again, you're going to have to get somebody who desires, you know what I'm saying? It's going to have to be somebody who has a real passion to clean that up, to fix that, because it's in a disaster. Harp has decimated decimated our state corrections. I
Well,
can't
have
say
they?
how sorry he is.
Do they not have inmates having uniforms now? They can wear whatever they want
Well, if
at
you
all
hear
levels.
yeah, I mean, I get told all the time that a lot of inmates are controlling and can do anything they want. That they're loose, they have control over, walk around anywhere they want, places where they should be considered out of bounds, where we would have used to consider that escape. I was told, like at the prison where I worked at, guess what? That they basically used to, if they were across the road, if they were in certain areas, they were considered escape. Now, and if you saw some inmate right across the road, you generally go over and say, get your ass back over there before I write you up. But now if they were off over there, 100 yards out there, or if they're down there around the shooting range or down there at the dog kennels where they're not supposed to be, guess what? They're going to get major trouble, possible escape charges, but they'd get in extreme trouble. Now I'm told they just walk around there wherever they want and nothing said.
Walk away. Walk away.
Yeah, they don't even get a walkway. They just walk back and come back and go as they want, go where they want. Again, there at Allen Gamble, I'm told two different gangs basically pretty much run the whole facility. If you want to listen to the employees, that's not inmates telling me that, that's employees. But I also have inmates telling me that, saying that they're running the entire facility. And again, if you want to look at every facility, we don't have the manpower. I mean, even some of those facilities, like we're talking about, where you never had any problem at Harp, you're hearing that. Crabtree, you're hearing that. You know, all these other places where, I mean, we're having deaths at Union City. Not too long ago, had one at Veneta. You just don't hear about that. That's you know pretty rare, but it's becoming more and more common. And again, we're seeing this. I mean, you're seeing it. If you want to talk about Hamilton, you know what I'm saying. They had a facility, part of that facility burnt not too long back. If you want to look recently, They had an inmate beat to death. I mean, beaten. Kind of like them other two inmates that we showed on one of our podcasts, being beaten, just unrecognizable beaten type. And so again, it's just Bob, it's just unreal what has happened. And here's what's even more callous and just unbelievable, that they're not letting loved ones in to see their inmates, their loved ones, because I think because we put out pictures of them, and so they don't want pictures getting out, and so guess what? Nope, you can't see them. And how are you going to hold your you know what I'm saying? How are they keeping all this information from the family, and the things that they're doing are just, Bob, they're just unheard of. I mean, I've worked in corrections all my life. And again, I can tell you, I've taken inmates to funerals of their loved ones. I've taken them to hospital stuff. And, you know, and again, I laughed. One of the things that person that was talking about how I'd never done anything said, oh, I'd only worked in prisons for 2 years. I retired out of the Department of Corrections. And there's a lot of times I was, as an officer, probation officer, that they sent me back in to work at McAllister behind the walls. I worked, I've done stuff there at MacAlford. I went back to Howard McLeod and done stuff. And so again, we help transport, we help do. I've done all kinds of things, been called in, and as a probation officer, worked with DOC, retired out of there 20 years. It just cracks me up what people say that are totally false, that don't have any knowledge of what they do. I've got a lot of knowledge of what they do, and that me and you haven't done anything. Mainly, they were talking about me, not you. But I do want to give you credit that all of that stuff that we've talked about, all of those raises, all of the things that we've worked on, has been through you. OCP come up with it. You came to me. I said, yes, we'll run with it. And then we went to work, and you went up there to Capitol, worked, and I worked to get these things, worked with the department, and I will hold up for Director Crow. Like there was things, there were problems. He inherited some problems, but at least you could go talk to him. And I do believe that he did have the employees' heart. I don't think that he wanted inmates to be harmed. I think he wanted good, and I think he strived for good. I think he just didn't know how to get there, or we didn't agree on how to get there. But I like Crow. But this guy right here, he's got not a clue, and I can tell you this: he don't care. There's one person that I believe Director Harp cares about, and that's Director Harp. And I will just tell you, I've never seen anybody that has destroyed an agency like this guy has. And I mean, like, just, I know it wasn't overnight. I know it's been about 3 years, but it's just, about every 6 months I have to reevaluate going, I thought this hole would have a bottom, Bob. I thought there's only so far you could go before the state would step in and say, that's enough. But apparently there is no hole, and apparently the state will never step in. And that's what's bothering me. DHS is bad, mental health is bad, DOC is bad, and the state just sits back, you know, says, well,
Well, it's like we heard tonight that basically DHS is going to have to be overhauled, completely overhauled. From bottom, it can't be fixed with. Got to just be overhauled.
well, but the bottom line, Bob, they got nobody up there that knows how to overhaul. And the people who know how to overhaul it, they treat like leopards. They treat them, because if you called them out on it, oh no, we can't do it. And so again, if you have any ideas, it cracks me up to go in these places and talk to them about DOC. What's y'all's ideal? Guess what? They ain't got an ideal. You go in there and talk to the governor and his 30, the legislators who are the top criminal justice people, and walk in there and go, hey, let me ask y'all a question. How many people has McGirt pulled off the state, docket, the state dockets, because we've moved all the McGirt people over to the federal side. So that means, we're 30%. It's roughly 30%. None of them could even tell you a number. Didn't even know how to tell you a number. Roughly, I think 30%. Bob, if 30% are gone, how does our prison population keep going up? If you pull 30% of the entire cases off, how does our prison population keep going up? They can't answer you. I've got some answers on it. They have not a clue. And then, Bob, the other thing is that we don't talk enough about here is that we're missing, they're not only down on officers, but they are way down on the case managers, unit managers. And not only that, not only are they way down on the numbers, but they're requiring those people to pull some of the slack off on the correctional officers. So we're down on correctional officers. So now we're going to have our low staffing on case management pull off over here. And guess what's happening? You can't do it all. And then when something happens, oh, it's y'all's fault. And so again, why that's important, you have discharge dates, you have credit for the time served and calculating time and
Yeah.
records. That guess what? People get held in prison longer and end up dead, which is a lawsuit they got right now. So Bob, they've got a disaster, and sooner or later it's going to come out that they've been falsifying the PREA, covering up the PREA. I believe covering up murders, and again, all of this stuff that we've been putting forward for the last couple of years. It's going to come out that we were telling the truth, they were lying, and I hope that some of these people that are in charge of that get criminally charged because what they've done is criminal.
Well,
I,
it's not getting any better. I don't look for it to get any better as long as we got the same people that doesn't know how to run a prison run it.
well, Bob, I think, and again, I like Governor Stitt. I think he's a very personable guy. He's got a good sense of humor. I like him. But what he's done to allow this man and his other state agencies, DHS, OJA, mental health, the people he's put in there have been complete disasters. And when we talk about government agencies, for the most part, they're all complete disasters. And he will not deal with reality. He allows it to continue. And what he's done with the Department of Corrections, and Bob, DHS, it's got a lot of problems because they're taking kids out of homes. They're terminating, the parents' rights. So that's a big deal. But when you're talking about Department of Corrections, you're talking about 24/7. You're talking about people living there, right there, employees right there, and things are bad, and murders and stabbings and fightings and all of that right there all the time in numbers like we've never seen. And how do you just turn around and Bob, it's not only that it's numbers we've never seen, stuff we've never seen, but then Harp sits up there and with rose colored glasses, lives in fairyland, and like you say, comes up with, oh, we're creating a much greater environment. Oh, it's a rehabilitative, and we want to make a better place for people to do. And then it's like, what have you done? Tell me one thing you've done to do what you're talking about. And let's go look at the reality of the numbers. And again, the words he uses are just made up lies. And it's just unbelievable. But Bob, I'm going to tell you, I completely understand why people are scared. I know that he will fire anybody if he finds out they talk to me or you. I understand that he's threatened people with OCP, that if you join, we're coming after you. I get all that. I've got people that that can confirm that they wanted to join and were not allowed to join OCP. But guys, if you're going to get your place back, you're going to have to decide: do you want to fight for your positions and take back the jobs that you have, and take back this prison, If you do, you need to join OCP. And again, I've listed just some of the things that we fought for you. But Bob, you know what? To come on this station or this podcast, we've been doing this for what, 4 years probably.
Yeah, at least.
We started that. We've been doing it 4 years. So you figure, you know what? Every weekend, and I bet we ain't missed. I bet in 4 years we ain't missed probably. I'd be surprised if we missed 10 or 12. Just for holidays and stuff. We don't hardly take off holidays or nothing else. And so um, yeah, I just don't think people understand the commitment that you've made and I've made to them, that we have a passion for you, the listener right here. We have a passion to make your life better, to make where you work better, and not just for you, for the inmates' families, for your families, for the employees' families. And we are interested in you, and we want to fight for you, and we have been fighting for you. And one of the ways that we have been is getting on here every weekend and telling you what's going on. Because guess what, Bob? The department used to share. They used to share. They used to send out a deal, and you could get on there if you work for the department and see what happened over here. Some drugs come over here. Somebody got stabbed over here. Guess what? You can't even, when you work for your own agency, see what's going on in another facility. They have shut down everything.
Yeah, and they don't use the open records request. They don't even count that anymore.
Oh, they
Yeah.
ignore that, as we talked about earlier. They're ignoring that to even the media, to the legislators. And again, if employees started asking, they'd just fire them. It's just unreal what is actually going on, Bob, with them. And so again, one of the things that us being on here is just sharing information with our base and OCP. And I don't think people really realize, Bob, what we're doing in the courtroom in fighting for these people who, get wrongfully fired, and going in and fighting that, seeing them appeal and winning those appeals and doing all of that stuff. And again, even people who aren't in OCP, when they get fired, they always call us. You generally call Bob, and then we end up getting them a lawyer, but it costs them out of their own pocket because they weren't members of OCP. But we're still trying to help those people, and I can name you, Bob. I mean, Luke Pettigrew, who I think would come on here tonight and say, join OCP. You should. He wished he'd been in OCP, but you helped him get with a lawyer. Uh, oh, Doctor Whitney Lewis, awesome person. I think she would tell you, hey, join OCP, because we've had to get her a lawyer. And so, anyways, Bob, there's a lot of people that you've helped, I've helped, that were not OCP, but if you're OCP, we can help you a whole lot more. And it doesn't cost you. We can help you. It costs you most of the time. But Bob, with that though, people need to understand. I think you had one this week that you were explaining. Hey, we can go in there and we can win, but even when we win, you're going to go back and you're going to have to, you know what I'm saying, face them. But if you can go in there and face them when you have legal, when they know that you've got a legal recourse, it's much better than trying to go in there
Well,
with
when
the
they
big
follow
target
the
on
law, they follow the law because they're violating that person's rights that he has when they threaten him that if you go to OCP try to fight this, then we're going to fire you. And
you. Right.
they have a right to be able to have this. It's not something that they don't have a right to do this to get away with it. But I think it's going to come back and bite them.
It will, Bob. It's going to come around. I guarantee you, it's going to come around. They're going to have their day. Bob, what a lot of our listeners need to understand is that OCP wasn't created just by the employees, but at the time, the director of the Department of Correction actually assisted in trying to get OCP and thought it was a great deal,
Mm-hmm.
and thought that it would help the employees, and thought it would strengthen, if I'm not mistaken. Now we'd have to go talk to We've got
That's
good
what they
friend
told me.
Ramsey. Yeah, Ramsey. We've had Ramsey on, and I think Ramsey could give a much better explanation. But I think Ramsey would tell us that they had the support of the administration at the time, of the director and the administration. And again, now you have an administrator who, again, he wants to act like he's going to be OHP. He's going to be up there with OHP. He's a disaster. He can't even get in the same, category. But if he had any kind of halfway thought, he would know that the way to do that would be strengthen your association. Because if you strengthen your association, if you could get the more people in that association, guess what? Now you have more stroke at the legislator. Now you have, and guys, that's what I'm trying to tell you. You want to take over, you want to be in control, get this OCP strong, and you don't have to be on the front line. We can have others, but here's the deal: get this association strong, and then you can walk up there to the Capitol, and then you can start telling the Capitol, "Hey, here's what's going on. Here's what's going on," and you'll start getting people interested, and you'll start getting people to take a part in that, rather than right now what you have your director up there lying to the legislators, going to the legislators. They've got their people up there, just like when we were fighting this year in the legislature. We're trying to bring back merit protection. We're trying to kill this civil service deal and get back merit protection for DOC employees. And he sends um, oh Deidre. So Deidre was their liaison, sends them in there and says, "No, DLC employees don't want this." Well, that's a lie. I walked back in there and said they're a bunch of liars. They don't represent DOC employees. OCP represents the employees, and I'll guarantee you they want this. They want to go back and have a right to a more ability to protect yourselves. And so we got that out of the house. If you'll remember, Bob Moore ran that, and Anthony Moore, and Anthony come and said, "Absolutely, we're going to listen." I, Hats off to Anthony on that, man. He carried the mail for us, got that out, and then Senator Fritz killed us on it. And then I think I think that the Highway Patrol actually got that through. Maybe the governor vetoed it. I can't remember.
I
We
think
didn't
that's
get
what
any
happened.
part of it.
Well, JJ, we're out of time, and I appreciate you coming on here tonight. Now, are you going to be back in town tomorrow? Are you?
Bob, I won't be there tomorrow because here's what's happened. They changed around. My kid wasn't going to get to go through in a graduation because he was supposed to be shipped out to Airborne, but they came in. In fact, I wasn't supposed to get a day with him today. I was only supposed to be able to see him about a couple of hours, and then we were going to leave and come home. But that when we got there, they said, "Hey, change of plans. We're going to let you keep him till 7, 8 o'clock tonight." And so we were able to keep him, hang out with him all day, and took him back over, I think, 7 o'clock. And then they said, "Hey, if you want to come to graduation, we're going to let him walk across the stage." So we just changed. We end up getting another room for an extra night, and we just changed plans, and we're going to go to this graduation. So I won't be there tomorrow. I know we had a meeting. I'll try to call you and get in that meeting, by phone.
Okay.
And
All right.
and
Well,
then
hey,
I had
we'll shut her down, but I sure do thank you very much for all the work that you do for the
I
employees at
you
state of
bet
Oklahoma.
you bet